Welcome to Todd's Lantern, where we discover the history, talent, and charm of St. John, New Brunswick.
Grass because it's probably wet, but I just point out this above the ground tomb over here without a top, whereas you see the one next to it has a top on it. Well, until a Halloween shell-out one night in 1967, this one also had a top. But during that shell-out, there was the gang came and ripped the top off this and threw it at the police station.
Oh.
And that's when it disappeared. Now, this is one of these things that comes up in conversation with someone that was on a walk and talk that was a witness to that event. And that's how I know about the story. So while we're here, let me say that we will be having a ghost walk here. I've got the date in my mind, but this is one of the places we're going to do one of the ghost walks this summer. We're not going to have to leave this cemetery at all, graveyard at all, to do the ghost walk, because there's enough stories right here. But one story that isn't in here is one I collected in Lorneville. And Lynn of Lorneville will know this one. I didn't even know Lynn when I seen her tonight with the mask on.
I just get better looking with age.
Could be. I won't dispute that. Anyway, we were down there one night doing a bicycle tour, and we came across the marker of Benjamin Dean, and it said, "Remember me as you pass by, as you are once, so once was I. Am now, as I am now, so you will be remembered." It's gone.
Ooh.
Remember me as you pass by, as you are once, so once was I. As I am now, you shall be. The last line is gone.
You're all
anyway.
welcome to Lorville to have
It's still there. It's still there. But anyway, this lady that was on the tour with us said a minister came along, and she said he added to it to follow you. Remember now to follow me. Remember, I follow you. I'm not content until I find out which way you went. Sorry about that flip there. Anyway, so that was Benjamin Dean, and that marker is still in the Lorneville Seaview Cemetery to this day.
Seaview,
And you can take a trip down there
we walk by
sometimes.
it every other day.
Oh, yeah?
Seaview, yeah.
And, okay, lost my place here. Did the Marsh Creek stroke. And, okay, while we're here, I want to remember Graham Somerville. Graham probably, I don't know how many stories Graham would have shared with me over the years, but Graham was the one that rebuilt the Wesleyan burial ground on Thorne Avenue. He spent summer after summer after summer redoing the stones, getting the grass cut, and really looked after it well. So one time I asked him to do a walk and talk, and to talk about his work. So he did. And he took me down, and he showed me a low ground area, and he said, one time we had a problem down here, Dave. A lady came to us and said that her husband was buried in the wrong spot, and that he shouldn't be in this low ground area of the cemetery. So I said to her, well, we'll go up to the church. That was the Centenary Queen Square Church that was up the hill here. We'll go up to the church and check the records. So up they went. When they checked the records over, looked over, the plan of the graveyard clearly showed that the gentleman was buried in the right spot. And as Graham said, the lady insisted that we dig her up because he suffered from the cold, and the watery grave would not be a good place for him to be. Oh, he was dead serious when he told me that. He sucked me right in with the story, which is a good story should do. Graham was also responsible for the restoration of the George Thompson stone, and George Thompson built what they called Thompson's Ark, and Thompson's Ark was built down about where Fort Latour is today, and it was built on top of a vessel called the Daedalus, and it became his living space. George Thompson lived in this ark. He did banquets in the ark. It was very well fitted out. And then he went down to Grand Manan to try and rescue another vessel that had gone aground in Grand Manan, and he took a heart attack and died. And he was buried in the Wesleyan burial ground. And I just tell you the year. I can't tell you right off the top of my head, but I think it's here. No, it's not even there. But I'm going to say around the year 2000, a cruise ship came in, and two people had contacted Graham. They wanted to see the graveyard, the grave of a relative of George Thompson. They didn't know anything about George Thompson, but one of his wife's sisters, I believe it was. And so he took them down and showed them that, and it was in good shape. But George Thompson's was very well. It was like a slab top, like down here, just down right ahead of me there. And it was all worn off. There was no story on it. So they were appalled by that, and they said, we want that fixed. And so they gave him enough money to not only fix that, but he also got a sum of money that he could use for other work in the cemetery, all because of those two people that come off the cruise ship. So that was quite a thing to happen. George Thompson's stone is redone, and you can read his whole story on the top of the stone, and it probably lasts for a couple hundred years. It's a granite stone, I think. It's very good shape. Okay, I want to show you one more down here. That's my favorite story, and I think we have to go down here to get at it. Yeah. Is with us here tonight, and she will remember this story, so don't blurt out the ending, Lynn.
Okay.
Okay? This is the gravestone of Margaret McCurdy. And Margaret McCurdy stone gives her birth date, her death date, and then below it, you would expect her husband's name to be, but it ain't. Because it was chipped out, because the bounder remarried within a week of her death.
Serves him right.
That's the story that tourists are told when they're brought in the Loyalist Burial Ground. But you take a look at this stone, and you will see, yes, the husband's name is missing. But there's a perfectly good explanation for it. The stonemason, the stone cutter, made a mistake in that name, and the family made him redo the stone. But he cheated. He didn't redo the stone. He just slugged out the husband's name, corrected it, and glued it back in. Winter came, frost set in. Winter came again, frost set in. After a number of winters, pop, the stone loses the name. And that's why it isn't there. It isn't because he remarried within a week.
But he did remarry within a week.
Well, that's the story you told.
That's the
There's
story
one
you
time-
told me to tell, as
Yeah.
I was dressed as this woman.
In the ghost walk,
In the
Lynn was up here on the top of the hill.
In the dark.
In the
I'm afraid of the dark.
And when I told the story, she came charging down saying, David Goss, if you tell that story one more time, that's a great big pack of lies. That'll be the end of you. Anyway, that's how we do it as a ghost walk. Tonight, just have a look at it and you'll see. Very convincing. I now have a piece with the name on it that I can set right in there, and you would never know anything was ever moved out. But I didn't bring it tonight because we're not allowed to handle things.
Can I tell you a story of him with ghost walks? Sometimes he makes me be a ghost, and I'm afraid of the dark. And he puts me someplace, okay? I didn't think I had to have my husband come with me, but, you know, a little anxious about this graveyard crap that he made me do. So I stood there, and I was a lady, and I was Mrs. Emerson, Mrs. Frances Emerson. And he had set up firecrackers, because Mrs. Emerson liked to have Christmas dinner with her husband at the grave, okay, on Westmoreland Road. So I was talking about how upset I was about, my husband dying and everything. And sometimes she'd do fireworks. She had a propane heater or something, a propane light, and it blew up some of the gravestones around it. So to do the effect, David had these little, Roman candles and made me light them. And I had a long dress on, and I'm trying to light these in the dark as he's leading the crowd away. And I'm trying to light these. All of a sudden, they start lighting, and I grabbed my dress and picked it up, and you can see me running across the hill. I said, "Run for your life! She's gonna blow!" All I could hear was him laughing as he walked away. Then he sent me into this big bushy thing. And he said the guy didn't want to bury people, so he put their bones in there. The graveyard guy was too lazy. Go in, Lynn, and check it out. And I said, no, I'm okay with that, Dave. I'm okay. Go in, go in. So I'm sneaking in, petrified of the dark, mind ya, sneaking in, and he had rigged a string that when he pulled it, skeletons come out of the trees. So you guys are all standing around. I'm sneaking in this little wooded indent. He pulls the light. The skeletons come out. Well, I can't tell you what I said, but I turned around and I went through. I plowed down 20 old ladies. I just pushed them out of the way and ran, and I never stopped running until I got my car. And I said, I'll never ever go to another graveyard with you again unless I'm with a horde of people. Here you are. I'm with a horde of people. But you don't trust them in a graveyard, ladies. I'm just telling you.
Okay,
My story.
have a look. Have a look before we move on. We're going to the gold tree. As soon as you have a look, go to the gold tree. Right here.
Oh yeah, right here.
Oh, yep.
Yeah. See how it's right there?
Yeah. Wow.
See it right there, Doug?
Disposable.
Yeah.
Disposable husband.
Well, he really